Hari Bhakta Brinda Ki Jai. Samasta Brajabasi Bhakta Brinda Ki Jai. Harinam Mahamantra Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Jai. So first we're going to continue reading the essential instructions of Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. And then we're going to read some of the instructions of Srila Bhakti Dayita Madhava Gosvami Maharaj from the beautiful book Volcanic Energy. If anybody wants to get this book, Vishuddha Chaitanya Vani Publications. Very beautiful granta, all about the beautiful glories and teachings and pastimes of Srila Bhakti Dayita Madhava Gosvami Maharaj, who is one of the stars in the constellation of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Prabhupada, Saraswati Thakur's illustrious disciples. So, we were reading yesterday. Instruction number 10. Do not imitate the Vaishnavas, or you will be burnt to ashes. Pray to serve them without duplicity. Think about that he was present for 142 years in this world. And these essential instructions were what he chose to give. These 32 instructions he chose to give before he left. So he lived for 140 years in this world, but he is Radhika's and Krishna's eternal associate. So how often does he come to this world? Not so often. He goes to other worlds, perhaps on certain missions, rescue missions we call them. Our acharyas come on rescue missions. And when he came, he taught so many things in his life. But if you could churn it all into the essence, it's these simple instructions that we're hearing. And we can use these as our guiding lamp on the path of spiritual life, to show us the way, how to progress, and also dangers. Some people may say, why are these so many kind of strong instructions? But if you are on a perilous journey and it's dark, and someone were to give you a guiding lamp of essential instructions to help you on your way, would you want them to warn you about dangers? Or just to tell you, oh, it's a very nice way, and don't worry, it's not actually dangerous. Like, yeah, but you might get eaten, or you might fall into a hole, or you might get fallen off the cliff or something. No, you want to know what to look out for also. That's essential part of the teaching. What to watch out for. So he's teaching us both things that are very encouraging, but ultimately also things that are very important to understand, because we want such a high thing. We have to remember, this is such a high thing we're aspiring for. So it's not something that is cheaply achieved or given. So to become qualified for that, these instructions, they're not chastisement. They're something that's so important for us because it's giving us help to get to that highest goal. You can imagine we're trying to climb up to that highest pinnacle of the achievement of that very position of being like a particle of dust at the lotus feet of Sri Radha Krishna, present in their service. But it's such a high thing. So to get to that highest peak, we need to take this guidance. Number 11. By enjoying the wealth meant for Sri Hari's service, one will become the greatest of atheists. This is especially important instruction for residents, not only of the mud, but managers. It's very dangerous. Oh, yes, I have so much money, I can use it on this and this and this and this and this. And then you become an atheist. Means you ultimately give up Krishna's service and become inimical towards Krishna by misusing his Lakshmi. This is his energy. And we should use it in his service and the service of his devotees. An ordinary thief may at some point achieve auspiciousness. However, those who enjoy the wealth of Guru and Vaishnavas will never obtain any auspiciousness. Zingers. It's like encouraging quotes, inspirational quotes. We should have all these printed up. Inspirational quotes. We need these instructions. We don't just want the feel good, don't worry, be happy. Don't worry, be happy, but try to follow these instructions. The Don't Worry, Be Happy manifesto. How to not worry and be happy. Don't do these things. Just as Sri Krishna is the topmost amongst all Bhagavat Tattva, means all conceptions of the absolute truth. Krishna is the highest. Similarly, a Rupanuga Vaishnav is superior to all other Vaishnavas. This is something that may not be pleasing to those who are propounders of the generalized idea of everything. Everything is all one. Padam Gurudev had a response to that. He said, do you think a saint and a murderer are then equal? Spiritually, the soul is equal, but actions matter also. And so, Padam Gurudev said, then you should worship the murderer and put the saint in prison. And that's what we see in Kali Yuga. Not to get too political, but going there a little bit. Gurudev would say, Winston Churchill, oh, he's so great, you're so great. He was very racist against Indians. And, in his reign, during his tenure, billions of Bengalis starved to death. And he could have provided, and he said, no need, we don't care about these. These people aren't civil. They're not civilized. And so, you kind of have this moral relativism. Oh, Winston Churchill is very great. And, this other person, Trump is the epitome of evil. So, not to get into examples like Hitler and things like that. But the idea of, in Kali Yuga, the moral relativism of this person is great according to my idea and what the basic vox populi says, without any actual real conception of the hierarchy of being. There is that hierarchy of being. That's essentially what he's saying here. And therefore he says the Rupanuga Vaishnav is superior to other Vaishnavas. Generally, devotees, we don't try to classify and grade people. But at the same time, to understand that Radhika's maidservants are the highest. They're very humble and sweet and simple, but they are the highest. When Gurudev was once preaching to, traveling with Param Gurudev, Acharya Keshwar, he was at a house of a magistrate. And this magistrate was a follower of Mayavad, Shiv Shankar philosophy, Shankaracharya. And Gurudev was reading in the morning outside in the courtyard, veranda, as they say in India. And the magistrate came and said, what are you reading? Hari Bhakti Vilas. What is this? He asked me, see, what is this Hari Bhakti Vilas? Why aren't you reading Sharirak Bhashya, the commentary of Shankaracharya? Gurudev said, Sharirak Bhashya. Bekar. Useless book. Sanatan Goswami is so exalted, he is Shri Radhika's Lavanga Manjari. He said, Shankar is very high, very exalted. We worship and respect and honor Shankar, Shiv. But his Mayavad philosophy is Asat Sastra, means false scripture. He was sent by Krishna to delude people who are opposed to the devotees, opposed to Bhakti. So Krishna said, go and lead them astray. So this person became very upset. And he started to argue with Gurudev, and Padam Gurudev came out. And he said, the Mayavad philosophy is no better than stool. Padam Gurudev speaking to this person who he was at the house of. And it was his philosophy that he was following. He said, your philosophy is like stool. Why? He said, whether it's sweet or like feces, what is the difference? Because if everything is nothing, what does it matter? And if you all become one with everything and you have no awareness of anything, what does it matter? If it's stool or if it's sweet, doesn't make a difference. That was his argument. He said, the Mayavad philosophy is that when we become one with everything, we lose individual awareness, and everything is just one. So he said, in that state of oneness, there's no experiencer to experience anything. He gives the example, there has to be, and he gave the example of sugar. He said, sugar or stool, does not matter. Sugar is sweet, but it cannot taste itself. Stool is probably not very sweet, but it cannot taste itself. So in order for there to be exchange, rasa, love, there must be the beloved, the lover. There must be the person experiencing and the person receiving and reciprocating with that experience. So he said, your philosophy is like stool. So the hierarchy.
Also, Shankar loves Sanatana Goswami.
Yes, they were bosom friends.
And when Sanatana Goswami wanted to leave his area in Chakleshwar Mahadev in Govardhan, then Mahadev was like, okay, no, I want your association. So this shows superiority of...
Good point. Yeah. Yes, at Chakleshwar Mahadev, on the Manasi Ganga, when you're turning the corner going towards Radhakund, there's Chakleshwar Mahadev. Right as you turn the corner of Parikrama, you go in. Chakleshwar Mahadev is there. And Sanatana Goswami would reside with him. And when he was going to leave, because so many flies, it's like Lord Shiva, he's just sweet, simple, Bolanath. Lord Shiva is actually a very sweet, simple personality. That's why all the ghosts and spirits come to him, because he's so soft and sweet. He says, no, bring me your most fallen. Let me help them. But then he's so sweet that anything he accepts everything. So people are bathing him with milk and this and that, and they never clean him. So all the flies come and sit on his linga and on his area. So Sanatana Goswami is saying, so many flies, so many mosquitoes, let me go. And Shivji appeared before Sanatana Goswami. He said, please stay. If you don't stay, how will I hear Harikatha and do Kirtan? Who will I do Kirtan with? So Sanatana Goswami decided to stay. So Gurudev said, Hari Bhakti Vilas, superior to the Mayavad commentary of Sankaracharya. So there is a hierarchy of being or of quality. It doesn't demean anything lesser. Everything has its place and its purpose, but ultimately there is a transcendental hierarchy. And atheism is the idea of trying to erase that everything is just one. I am God, there is nothing higher than me. Saying I am God means there's nothing higher than me. So
we had a discussion earlier. We needed some clarification on the difference between Shunyavad and Mayavad.
Shunyavad is Buddhism, the idea of nothingness. So it's like zero. Mayavad is oneness. Everything is one. And real philosophy to erase the self.
And the Mayavad is to merge
yes.
one self.
Yes. Mayavad, Buddhism ultimately says there is nothing. Forget it's all illusion, but ultimately there's nothing. It's a foolish philosophy.
Is there another word we can use that's equal to hierarchy? Is there another word?
People don't like that word. I don't know what you would say. There's a
Gradation. Spectrum is one, but spectrum.
Well, spectrum is like this and that. Krishna is, number one. But ultimately he takes shelter of Srimati Radhika. So showing the hierarchy is like, it's, at the highest state it's inverted. Radhika is supreme. That's why we worship Radhika as paramount. Ramananda Roy Samvad says Prem Vivartha means reversal of roles. And Radhika is supreme and Krishna worships her. Radhika takes on Krishna's features, Krishna takes on Radhika's features. But ultimately, yes, hierarchy, it's like a loaded word. But the point is that our spiritual life is predicated on anugatya, discipleship. I am not equal to Guru. I am his servant. I am not a Vaishnava. I am their servant. So it's like developing the submissive mood where we're okay with having a superior is important. All the manjaris and gopis, they take guidance from the elder Sakis, the senior Sakis. Please tell me, what can I do? So part of our spiritual progress is becoming accepting of having a superior. Now those people, because we've been exploited for so long, we're against that. But when we come into shelter of true, divine personalities who only want our welfare, we willingly accept it, and they will give us full freedom also. Swadhinata Ratnadane. They give us the jewel of complete independence. So that's also important. Like a mother is, a superior than the child. You can give your baby instructions. The father can instruct the child. But if it's with love, it's for their welfare, then it's not tyrannical. I think that's important. So God is not a tyrant. He loves us and He gives us freedom. Sovereignty comes from God. Even though He is our superior, He gives us freedom. He gives us independence. We have the jewel of independence. And therefore it's the greatest sin to usurp that. To try to take away someone's free will or independence is a sin against God. But we can encourage to serve. Even Krishna is serving. What's the harm in serving? But we should serve under guidance. Because if we're serving under guidance, we'll learn how to do it nicely. If I don't know how to cook, I should go to someone who knows how to cook. How should I cook? And then they instruct me, I should willingly accept. When we go to a teacher, we hear from them. If we're always trying to challenge the teacher, what are we going to learn?
I was going to say, Srila Prabhupada in Srimad Bhagavatam in the first canto talks about this in the purport. And he says that we think we have independence in this world. And we do have some minute independence. But until we give up our independence and surrender it, then we are truly, freely independent. Because we are still bound by our karmic actions. We are not fully independent of those. So it's a very interesting thing, like you said, first submitting and surrendering onto the line, and then actually real freedom starts.
Vaishnavas say that without anugatya, it's a sinful life. They speak very strongly. It's like, it's a heavy thing, but that's what they tell,
It's layered and heavy. That's so true. And
Go ahead, continue.
One other word for hierarchy that I like to think about, at least with this subject matter, is levels of intimacy. Because Gurudev is always talking about who is controlling Krishna more with their love. And really it's about intimacy. And what we all desire is intimacy and love. So why wouldn't we have the highest intimacy and love with God? Why wouldn't we serve those who have the highest intimacy?
So we want to approach those who have the highest intimacy and take shelter of them.
Yeah, rather than thinking it's like Hanuman is inferior or all of that, but rather
that's very nice.
we're searching for
Levels of intimacy with God. We want to take shelter of those in higher levels of intimacy with God. Wah, wah, sadhu, sadhu.
I think about those things language.
Yes, come on.
You must submit to the hierarchy. I'll just tell it like a guy, okay? All right. Fall in line, soldier.
Srila Sridhar said Krishna's the autocrat.
By himself and for himself. Then he can be God. Otherwise he's not God. And we are meant to serve him. But the relationship is sweet. It's just, why go against eternal nature? Meaning, he is God, and we are not. So why fight against reality?
Most people just don't have the experience yet. And that's why we're always thinking, what words can we use?
No, language is important. But I think it's very interesting, like Krishna can't help but be God. God can't help but be God. And if we want to be happy being in relationship properly, and Krishna is so merciful that he says, look, come to my land and I don't know I'm God and you won't know I'm God, and we can just play together. That's what Krishna's abode is. He's saying, I don't think I'm God. Really, I don't. Mother Yashoda chastises me. Nanda Maharaj chastises me. I don't remember I'm God. If I remember, Kunti Mata. Kunti Mata asked this to Krishna when he was in Kurukshetra. We hear these stories how Mother Yashoda bound you and she had a stick to chastise you and weeping. Was this a joke? You're God? How are you listening to, why are you letting her threaten you with a stick? And Krishna said, I was actually crying. I didn't know, I forgot. Her love was so powerful, I completely forgot, and I was just like her little boy. So that's why we worship Krishna, who isn't the severe Father, God. If we want to approach him like that, you can also. She has the pass. Yeyatamang prapadyante. Can you tell me how much time is left on that?
22 minutes.
Maybe just start it. Okay, let's keep going. Should we try to get through these or read about? Okay. To one who serves Guru and Vaishnavas with ulterior desires and with the arrogance of being a sevak, Guru and Vaishnavas will give material gain, worship, and prestige, sending that person far away. Vaishnavas also say distance is relative, because if we are abiding by their instructions, they are with us, no matter the distance. And if we are nearby, not following their desire, we are far. So metaphorically speaking, we are sent far away, giving great worship, honor, prestige. And we also may be sent far away physically. But it's not always so cut and dry. You have to understand according to time, place, circumstance. But if we serve them with ulterior desires, so we always being able to put the mirror upon ourselves. Gurudev always talks about not criticizing, but he says, why? Because you're letting your focus go outward when you need to do inner work. That's the wind blowing. The wind in the windows. How's that song go? The wind in the willows. Never heard the wind in the willows? The wind in the windows. Okay. Sri Krishna has said, it's a nice one. Okay, this is a nice one. Those who serve me will never have to undergo difficulties in filling their bellies. However, those who become satisfied, there has to be this can't just be a happy instruction. Don't worry, you'll never go hungry if you serve Krishna. Devotees may be poor, but they'll have a full stomach, usually. But, I won't go into anecdotes. However, those who become satisfied upon receiving delicious foodstuffs from me will never be able to obtain my service. So the idea is, Krishna provides, but don't become a glut. That's why we were starting Gurudev's temple in Navadvip when they separated from Vedanta Smriti, and Gurudev said, please go and find a place and start a temple, and he gave 5,000 rupees. 5,000 rupees is enough to, buy some rice and dal for devotees for a week or something like that. It's not enough to buy a huge land and build a temple. But when Vaishnavas were trying to get the land, they didn't have the money, and they're not going to spend Gurudev's 5,000 rupees, So they would collect saag and leaves and plants from around the jungles of Bengal and cook this. And then they bagged some cheap rice and made them rice and made like a vegetable, like lafra. It's just like cooked down veggies, all from the forest. That's the nice thing about Bengal. You can kind of just go out and you can collect tubers from the sides of the pukars, the ponds, and leaves. Once time in Mayapur, Chaitanya Mat, the brahmacharis were sitting and only eating saag. Means just like cooked, like spinach and veggie, like mixed varieties of this that they just collected. And Bhaktivinoda Prabhupada said, why are you eating just this? They said, we're practicing vairagya, renunciation. They didn't want to say, oh, Gurudev, there's nothing in the storehouse. We don't have anything to eat. And he knew, but he was very merciful. So sometimes, willingness to do austerities, endears us to God. One time, Param Gurudev, they didn't have any money when they were starting out. Even though Param Gurudev had managed all the mutts, but he left without a penny, not taking anything. And when he was starting again, one time a Vaishnava visited for Ekadashi, and they had nothing to offer. So he said, okay, in the morning time, there was nothing. So they said, today we'll do Nirjal. All that they had begged was gone. So they said, we'll do Nirjal, fast the entire day. But then they heard a Vaishnava was coming. So Param Gurudev was thinking, how can I make him fast? We have to cook something. Just then a sparrow came and dropped a little packet. And they opened the packet and Che Anna, I think Che Anna was there. Yeah, so it's like at that time the coin. And it was enough to make a nice feast that day. And then after they fed the Vaishnav, they received a letter in the mail that a Vaishnav had, another Vaishnav in another mutt had, without being solicited, sent 100 rupees. It was such a large amount at that time. So in that way, Krishna always provides. But showing the willingness to not be just trying to bask in the opulence near Guru. 16. The duty of the householders is to accept the shelter of the lotus feet of Sadguru, bona fide Guru, and engage in the service of Shri Giridhari, Krishna, the lifter of Govardhan. 17. The essence of all instructions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is to perform kirtan of Shri Nam, chanting the holy names without offenses, Shuddha Nam. 18. While placing yourself under the guidance of pure Vaishnavas, you should preach Gauranam. So he goes further into it. It's that kind of way how to get free of offenses. Chant Shuddha Nam without offenses. Chant Gauranam in the company of the Vaishnavas. Then you'll be able to chant Shuddha Nam. Gauranam aparad vicharnai. Chanting Gauranam, there's no consideration of offense. Krishnanam, you can commit offense. But Gauranam, Nitai Nam, they're so merciful. That's why Swami Prabhupada brought Gaur Nitai everywhere. Take shelter of Gaur Nitai. They're so simple. They themselves dance with Jagai Madai. They don't think, oh, this person, they don't follow any good etiquette, or this person, oh, they're a drunkard. They themselves dance with the drunkards. They're so merciful. Radha Krishna, Radharani, Sankachud came. No need. But Gaur Nitai, many Sankachuds can come, but no problem. Dvivida gorilla came when Baladev was doing Ras, and he caused such a disturbance, and Baladev killed him. Right?
Yeah, he's really bad.
He was really naughty. He was passing stool and urine, trying to take the girls' clothes, everything, making himself naked in front of them. But Gaur Nitai is so merciful. Just chant Harinam, no problem. No clothes, nothing, no problem. Just chant Haribol. Very merciful. Okay. Listen to this one. This is something we've been talking about. Number 19. To serve under guidance is the highest virtuous conduct. Independence is a form of degraded conduct. So trying to always, but really it's important to find the higher guidance. We can't just say, oh dog, please guide me. Oh cat, please guide me. They make fun of this parable in Bengal, like they tell a story. One housewife in India was cooking chapatis. And, normally you go outside and feed a cow or something. And actually they cook outside sometimes, So they'll be cooking a chapati, they have a little fire and they're cooking. And a dog came and stole her chapatis. And then she was like, oh, God has taken my chapati. She was thinking the dog, oh, everything is like God. So the dog is taken. She ran behind the dog saying, come back. You didn't let me put ghee on the chapati. Come back, let me put ghee first, then you can take it. Oh God. So the point is, take guidance from someone who deserves that. Yes. We want to take guidance from those who have the highest level of intimacy with God. Jai Ho. And that's how we accept the disciplic succession. Our Gurudev would say, the Brajabasi Guru, the Brajabasi disciple. We want to take shelter of them because those Brajabasis have the highest level of intimacy with Krishna. And so if we are in shelter of Vaishnavas who are connected to that chain, like to Guru, Gurudev is Radhika's very dear, beloved Kinkari, maidservant. So if we are anyhow connected to him, we're in that chain of connection to the highest level of those who have the highest kind of intimacy with Krishna. So therefore, there's nothing more auspicious than that. That is the most auspicious thing. 20. If one thinks Sri Hari's service to be merely one's duty and is content after finishing one's tasks, an actual service tendency will not awaken. So we are not trying to become Cinderella, sweeping and cleaning and brooming and dusting, and then going off to the ball. We want to. Service is our reward. What can I do next? Kinkari means what to do. King Kori. Radhika's maid servants, what to do. And because they're so active, everything is nicely done very easily. If everyone does everything together, that's the idea of the Kinkaris. Everyone helps together. Everyone puts in a hand. It's not just one Cinderella washing the pots, cleaning, except, sometimes. Ideally, it's not just one person doing everything. If everyone does everything together, then we all go to the ball. We all go and chant and dance and do Sankirtan and have nice prasadam. The goal isn't to wash pots, but it is also that we should happily wash pots for Radha Krishna's cooking. If we do it with the sense of, it is my job, and then when I'm done, I get to go and party, then that is not real seva tendency, and it will not awaken. Follow up, 21. I think we'll leave the last 10 for tomorrow, maybe, and go to Bhakti, Dayita, Madhava, Gosvami Maharaj. Service tendency will manifest when, although serving at all times and in all manners, one remains unsatisfied and always wants more service. This is real seva. We see this with the Vaishnavas who are able to, their entire life, serve tirelessly. We see this with Vaishnavas, Gurudev's sevaks. Their entire life from boyhood, constantly serving. Shamarani Didi. She's never tired from seva. Her whole life. You hear the stories of how she would serve, painting tirelessly, accepting pain, difficulties for the body in the path of service. Srila Madhava Maharaj, Tirtha Maharaj, Babaji, Vaishnavas, incessantly serving. And then they want more seva. What can I do next for Gurudev? When we develop that sentiment, that mentality, then Gurudev will know, they are a very good sevak. I should call them to help in my next lila. Now I am appearing in this manifestation. Malini is a very good sevak. Let me bring Malini. Now she knows how to make idli.
Actually, Gurudev in a class that I heard recently, he's talking about an anecdote of Navajit Damparikama and making, they hired Bengali cooks to help assist, and they didn't show up on time for the parikama. And Madhava Maharaj, Tirtha Maharaj, all the sevaks, Prabhuji, everyone helped in whatever way to make it happen, and they themselves were helping cook, especially Tirtha Maharaj, who was glorifying. And he says, these are my, my gems, my jewels, my boys who've given their life. And he says, I one day want to be proud of you also, that you can serve like that. He was telling everyone. I thought that was very sweet. And another point is, we've heard, even Madhava has been asked, you're so busy, you're always doing stuff, you never have vacation or relaxed time. Never. This vacation means death. It means no more service. This is like the mood. Right?
Vacation from my life? Vacation from my beloveds?
Yeah.
Seva is ananda. Seva is bliss. But if we think, it's just another task. That's why we want to enter into blissful service and try to coach people into the idea of blissful service. And it's not, from my own experience in the mat for a long time, very long time. You have to try to get into the groove. Spiritual life, you have to get into that special place where everything is transpiring very blissfully. And you can pass by months and months like that. And also, if you're always kind of fluctuating a lot, it's hard to get into that because it takes time to kind of get into that, I guess in other fields, they call it I don't know what the term is, but flow state. To be into flow state, and how to get into that. And in the life of bhakti and service, it takes time to clear the clouds of illusions and all these ideas and get into that flow state. And it's easy to get, knocked out, and then you have to spend time trying to get back in. But if we can get into that kind of spiritual flow state, then it is blissful. Serving Radha Krishna, because with that intimacy, it's very blissful.
It's what gives us energy.
Yes, it empowers. Without that, the opposite, I like to say, get ecstatic. The opposite is be static. We want to get ecstatic. And that means movement, action, seva. And it should be joyful. Life, the idea of the universe is it's in a dance. Everything is dancing. The atoms, the electrons, the protons, they're like dancing. We want to dance and seva and try to be ecstatic. That's why we're going to talk about Srila Bhakti Dayita Madhava Goswami Maharaj. Volcanic energy. Speaking of ecstatic, without volcanic energy, being ecstatic means you must have some kind of volcanic energy. So we want to get ecstatic. So everyone is recommended to check out this granta. I don't know if they have a PDF. Good question. You can look online. Volcanic energy. So again, it's a very nice, beautiful description of his life and glories. I was thinking we could just go through, what time is it? Maybe on your phone, can you tell me? Okay, 10 minutes. Maybe we'll do more than that. Oh, here's a nice one. Okay, so we're just going to, before class, I just got this book and I was looking through it a little bit. And the same thing, just the highlighted texts are very inspiring. So it's a little tidbit of mercy that, and to give, I want more. If you give people a taste of ice cream, you go to the testing place, they don't give you a big spoon. They give you like the tip of a little wood stick. And then you want more. Oh, that was a good flavor. Give me some more of that one. So we want to get these little spiritual tidbits from the granthas and then hopefully to increase our greed. This is a very sweet one. So he's saying, the impressions of my mother's devotional practices, the impressions my mother's devotional practices left on my heart became the impetus for me to take up the spiritual path later in life. Mama's the first guru. If mama no good, baby no good. Mama not happy, nobody happy. So he's saying it's very sweet. Bhaman Goswami Maharaj was similar. His mother was a jewel of a Vaishnav. She would always go to the Dham, do so much seva. Even the father was more like, oh, why are you going again? Even when she was pregnant, she went. And she was doing seva. And when the boy was just an infant, she would bring him and she would do seva here and there, leave him in a basket. All the devotees would play with him, take care of him, no problem. So many beautiful things. Just even reading the headlines of the sections, you want to read them all. How he had a deep concern for everyone. There's a story of when he was a boy, young boy. He had an injury in school and he was bleeding. And his teacher came very concerned. And he was just a very little boy. And he said, this is all according to karma. I haven't lost an arm or a leg. I'm just bleeding. Just patch it up. This is Krishna's mercy. He says, my mother told me, you can imagine, he's just a little boy. My mother told me that whatever the Lord does, he does solely for our welfare. Therefore, my injury must have happened for my own good. I told him it was not a serious injury, as I had not lost a limb, and everyone must face the results of their previous actions. Being astonished to hear such insight from a young boy, the teacher embraced him with great affection. Just see, from childhood, he had this kind of mentality. This is a good one. What is real darshan? It's a story meeting Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada. Real darshan is through the quiz. How do you do real darshan? Through the ears. Correct. Ding, ding, ding. In reality, darshan is performed not with the eyes, but with the ears. Srimad Bhagavatam says that the Lord is seen through hearing and accepting that transcendental sound vibration that comes into the heart, purifies the heart, and then reveals the form of the Lord. So we can see him. He is in our heart. Why don't we see him now? Because our heart is polluted. So we pray to hear that transcendental, powerful sound vibration that is like a forceful wind that blows out all the other unwanted things and reveals that form of the Lord. I do not wish to be the cause of harm to anyone. I cannot falsely suspect or accuse anyone. I wish only for everyone's welfare and nothing else. Very nice. I do not falsely suspect or accuse anyone, meaning, I don't know. Why should I suspect or accuse? And it's not my job to be an investigator either of anyone's bad qualities. Let me just accept everything. I'm not the chastiser, I'm not the doer. A life in service. Or let's read. There's a story about how he had volcanic energy. One time, when Guru Maharaj had returned to Sridham Mayapur on Sri Krishna Janmashtami, after completing a preaching tour with his senior godbrother, Srila Sridhar Goswami Maharaj, Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada saw him and said, "It is very good you have come. You should immediately proceed to Mathura. Brajmandal Parikrama is just around the corner. You should go there and meet with the local pandas and discuss with them about scouting locations for the camps and all the details related to providing the pilgrims with suitable arrangements for food, water, and so on." Following Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada's instruction, Guru Maharaj immediately prepared to leave. Even though he had been out, you imagine like for a month, day to day, always moving, preaching, non-stop, in Indian transport back then, very difficult. As soon as he arrived, Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada said, "Quickly go to Mathura, all the way from Mayapur." It's not so easy. He immediately jumped on the request for service. And Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada was very happy. Then he told someone to make nice puri sabji for the journey. And Bhaktivedanta Madhava Goswami Maharaj, I think he was Hayagriva Brahmachari at that time. He said, no need. I don't need, I'll go, no problem. And Prabhupada was so happy, he gave him his lota. And it had some sugar water and lemons. And he said, you can take this and it'll be it gives you some energy, lemon. It's called Shikanji. Shikanji, it's like a lemon sugar drink. After Guru Maharaj left Mathura, Srila Prabhupada told the brahmachari, Hayagriva brahmachari is full of volcanic energy. He is always ready to perform any kind of service with the utmost enthusiasm, and no matter what the situation is, he always returns successful. I'll just finish this and we'll paragraph and then we'll stop. Guru Maharaj once told me, during Srila Prabhupada's, so Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada's physical presence in this world, he mercifully made sure I was constantly busy. So this is Hayagriva Brahmachari Bhaktivedanta Madhava Goswami Maharaj telling Srila Bharati Maharaj. I was constantly busy. When I would return to Srila Prabhupada after working hard to accomplish one task, he would immediately give me another task to perform. He did not have to ask anything about the first task because he knew I would not approach him if I had not completed my seva. I would not approach him unless that task had been completed. Although physically exhausted, so it's amazing, like, go and do this seva, and it's very difficult, like not everyone can do it. And when he would come back, he would not have to say, is it done? And then also he would not brag like, I did it. Or like expect some kind of pat on the back, He would offer pranams and he would say, go and do this. Next. That's how they established this mission. Otherwise, how is it possible without these kind of personalities? Although physically exhausted, I would experience unparalleled happiness to fulfill his order. I used to sometimes think that a time would come in my life when I would be able to live by a fixed schedule so that I could peacefully chant my fixed number of rounds, chant my Gayatri mantras at the appropriate times, and carefully read and study Vaishnava literature, just as some of my godbrothers did. But when, after Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada left this world, and I received plenty of time to do as I pleased, I lamented that I was no longer busily engaged in service in the way during my days with him. It was only after he externally disappeared from the vision of this world that I understood such laborious service is my very life. After realizing this, I always tried to keep myself as busy as Srila Prabhupada kept me. Hearing this, I understood just how appropriate it was that Srila Prabhupada described Guru Maharaj as having volcanic energy. Jai Ho, everybody, check it out. Srila Bhakti Dayita Madhava Gosvami Maharaja ki jai. Something I just thought about a lot, that it takes a lot of time of relationship with the Vaishnavas to get that kind of feeling. But it's based on that deep kind of relationship. If there's a real deep relationship, they don't have to ask. There's no kind of question, oh, are you okay? Did you do enough? Like, it's natural. You can discuss. Actually, it's not a formal thing. You can sit together and kind of, oh, how are you doing? You don't even have to say it. They can express themselves. You can express yourself as a relationship. Some bandhuvat. Ultimately, we want to have a relationship of familial affection with Guru and Vaishnavas, like they are a family. That can come over years and years. Not that, I remember when I first came to the mutt, oh, my family. Sometimes, oh, my little sister. But after a long time, Guru and Vaishnavas are my family. Family is also my family. But we should not, they are my blood family, they're more important. My spiritual family is the most important. And my blood family is also my spiritual family. Therefore, we're very lucky if that is the case. But spiritual family first. And if we have that relationship with them, we want to be active in that loving service of Radha Krishna. And that action in loving service gives the most bliss and the sweetest intimacy. Really, when you're serving together, and you can see the Vaishnavas are always serving, so it must be something good. They're always doing it. It must be something sweet. And they're the ones who are always lamenting, where's my Guru Maharaj? Where's that? Because they have that loving, sweet relationship. I know with Babaji and Gurudev, whenever they would meet, and speak, so intimate. Their friendship, how they would speak together. It's not some kind of, we have these tasks to perform in order to get our brownie points from our Guru. No, it's just naturally, how can I serve? So we're praying today to Bhakti Dayita Madhava Goswami Maharaj to give us a drop of his volcanic, not a drop, what do you call a part of lava?
Spark.
Give us a chunk of his lava-like energy in service. Because that can kind of fuel us for a long time. Spark, how long is it? It's going to go on off. Hit us with a fireball of your transcendental energy so that we can serve Hari Guru Vaishnavas. We want to be enlivened. We want him to kindle our spiritual dynamic energy in service to Guru Vaishnavas. Patidanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo.